Before I launch into how to do this example, I just want to mention one thing that's going to seem silly right now, but it's going to make the explanation at the end of this video a little bit clearer. If you have an expression like 3 minus v, you can rewrite that as negative quantity v minus 3. And I hope you can just see with the distributive property that that's going to make sense. If I take this negative sign and distribute it, it's going to give me a negative v and a positive 3, which of course I can rewrite as 3 minus v. So just kind of keep this little maneuver in mind. And I also want to point out that if I had, say, like a x times a 3 minus v, I could rewrite that as negative x times v minus 3. For pretty much the same reason, because really the 3 minus v and the negative x minus v minus 3 is the same idea we just talked about, and if there was an x in front of this whole thing and just an x chilling out over here, it wouldn't really make any difference. So make sure that this part makes sense to you before you watch the rest of this video, because otherwise the end of this video is going to be really complicated. Maybe pause and think about this or replay this first minute over again. So now you've hopefully made peace with that little pulling out of a negative that I talked about. When we go to simplify a rational expression, we need to have things factored and things multiplied together. We cannot do things like cross off this v squared with this v squared, because all these pluses and minuses, they get in the way of doing that. You just can't do it. What you have to start with is factoring things out. So this top, I'm going to factor that. So go ahead and pause it and try and factor faster than me if you can. I hope you got a v and a v to make a v squared. And then we get a positive 3 but a negative 4, so I'll use a negative 1 and a negative 3. Then for the bottom, I got to factor that. I'm going to start with a common factor of 5, leaving me with 9 minus v squared. And then notice that this is the difference of perfect squares. So now I'm ending up with the numerator being 5 minus 1, v minus 1, v minus 3, and the denominator having a 5, and this breaks up into 3 plus v, 3 minus v. And now what I'm looking for is something on the top and something on the bottom that are identical. But nothing's identical. These are the closest thing to being identical, and here's where that beginning of the video comes into play. I can rewrite this part of things. I can pull a negative out and put that negative way up over here, and then rewrite this part as v minus 3. So that would look like the numerator would have a v minus 1, v minus 3, that'll be untouched. I'm going to pull this negative out of here and put it in front to have a negative 5, 3 plus v, v minus 3. And now that these are the same, they can be crossed off, and the simplified version of this expression would be v minus 1, 5, 3 plus v. And as far as that negative goes, you can put that negative strictly on the 5. You can put that negative in front. That's what I'll do here. Or another thing you might see people do sometimes is take that negative 1 and apply it to the numerator, which would mean it would be 1 minus v over 5, 3 plus v. Now if this last part doesn't really make a ton of sense, think about it a little bit, but for as far as Alex is concerned, if what I just did from here to here doesn't make a ton of sense, then just make sure you either put that negative on the 5 or hanging out in front, but don't just tack it on the top because it had to be distributed. Good luck with these. They're not that bad, just factor. It's all about factoring, finding things that are the same, and then canceling those things off to simplify.